slide takes us into the sales tax section. So let's pretend you make a sale. Congratulations. Do you have to collect sales tax? Or what about when you sell out of state? Does it matter if you simply ship something to another state instead of actually leaving your state? And I'm looking at you, Amazon, for all of those questions. And the answer is that it depends. And I'm sorry, because I really do hate that answer. So let's start at the beginning on slide 18. You have what we call a tax home. Your tax home is where your business is located. Maybe it's in Ohio, maybe it's New Mexico, maybe it's New York, wherever it is, that is your tax home. And let's just pretend for simplicity's sake that you live and work in the same state. You have one tax home. The first step is to figure out what your sales tax obligations may be in your tax home. In most states, the sale of artwork is taxed as tangible personal property. And in some states, it's not. It totally depends on your state's laws. The odds are good, though, that the sale of work within your tax home is subject to sales tax. So assuming that's the case, you'll want to register for a vendor's license. And again, each state has different definitions and provisions and fees for this. And you'll want to collect sales tax at the state or county or city imposed rate. And of course, you have to look those up yourself. And then you have to remit the sales tax to the state or county on whatever schedule they outline for you. Usually it's more frequent with higher levels of sales and less frequent for relatively low volumes of sales. But give yourself plenty of time to figure this out in your own tax home, because those are a lot of questions you need to understand within your tax home. And believe it or not, that's the easy part. So then on slide 19, you have to go through the same process for any other state where you have a physical presence or nexus in tax terms. If you have a studio in another state, or you store inventory in another state, or if you have an office in another state, you might have nexus in that state. If you do not have a physical presence in another state, you do not have to collect sales tax there. For now, stay tuned to the Marketplace Fairness Act, which might change that entirely. But for now, if you do not have physical presence, you don't have to worry about sales tax in that state. But what if you don't have a studio somewhere else, but you travel to that somewhere else to sell work at like a festival? Or what if you deliver a piece to the buyer and you install it yourself? Do those activities count as physical presence? And do they give you nexus? That's a huge question, and unfortunately the answer is it depends. And I am so sorry because that's a terrible answer, but it really does depend. Each state defines nexus differently, and each state has its own rules about the volume of sales in that state that gives rise to your own nexus obligation. So if you will be physically present in a state that isn't your tax home for a festival or a trip or a presentation or something like that, it's worth looking into the sales tax rules of that state. In many states, if you attend a festival for a short period of time and or you don't exceed a certain dollar threshold for sales, you're fine. You don't have to worry about establishing nexus. There's sort of a free pass you get. But in other states, the thresholds are really, really low, so you might run afoul of nexus rules if you're not paying attention. So spend some time investigating the thresholds for the places where you'll be to make sure you're complying with the licensing and tax rules within that state, especially if you go to another state frequently. And don't forget, for now, if you do not have physical presence in another state, you don't have to collect sales tax there. But if you might have physical presence, go ahead and investigate what the state laws are. And you can usually find them on the state's website or the Attorney General website, depending on what state it is.